So you know him, right? You know his face in the outfit or whatever, the get-up. One of the most well-known faces of the Capitol riot, the so-called Qanon Shaman, sentenced to more than 3 years for his role in the insurrection. There he is, right, standing in the well. The judge showing little sympathy for Jacob Chansley, giving him one of the harshest sentences of any of the insurrectionists, 41 months in prison. Chansley was one of the first 30 rioters inside the Capitol building on January 6th, equipped with face paint, a bullhorn, and a flagpole as a spear. So joining me now, CNN legal analyst and former federal prosecutor Elliot Williams. Elliot, good evening. Good to see you. So we're back to the QAnon shaman here. Chansley became a symbol of this insurrection, roaming around the Senate chamber, yelling, carrying an improvised weapon. He even left a note for Mike Pence.
Yep.
What do you think of this sentence, sir?
Yeah, it's interesting, Don. It could have been higher. So look, the way federal sentencing works is that you punch numbers in based on the severity of the offense, the crime he's charged with, his criminal history, any factors that might bump it up, what were kids present or something like that. You get a range. The range here was 41 to 51 months. A judge knows that if he or she sentences someone to within that range, it's going to be good. It's going to stand up on appeal. Now look, he could have gone up to 51 months. What the judge seemed to be convinced by was that he accepted responsibility and spent a half hour today in this stem winder of a speech, the defendant did, saying, how sorry he was that he accepted responsibility and so on. We'll see how that plays into future cases, right? And if these guys do say they're sorry.
Well, let me follow up on that because he's one of the first felony defendants to get a punishment among more than 660 Capitol riot cases. Do you think it's going to set a standard for other rioters facing prosecution?
Let me tell you this time, it should, because that's the way federal sentencing should work. The system wants to get uniformity across all sentences and across all similar crimes. And so when you have a body of defendants, all of whom have committed the same or similar offenses, you want them to get other judges to follow sort of the lead that this first judge set. Now, there are other factors that are going to bump up other people's sentences. Number one, people who helped plan and coordinate and bring other folks to Washington. Number two, people who engaged in acts of violence, throwing bear spray and things like that. And that may bump people up higher up in the range. And again, acceptance of responsibility. If folks just dig in and say, look, I'm not sorry, we're patriots here, then those are the kinds of things that might lead to higher sentences.
Look, there was a whole circus around Chansley's case. He asked the former president, the ex-president, for a pardon, Trump, right? He wanted to testify at Trump's impeachment trial. He went on a hunger strike to get organic food, and he spoke to 60 Minutes from jail without permission. Let's watch some of it here.
Yeah.
My actions on January 6th, how would I describe them? Well, I sang a song. And that's a part of shamanism. It's about creating positive vibrations in a sacred chamber. I also stop people from stealing and vandalizing that sacred space, the Senate. Okay, I actually stopped somebody from stealing muffins out of the break room. I also said a prayer in that sacred chamber because it was my intention to bring divinity and to bring God back into the Senate.
Okay, listen. I mean, right. The judge. What did you say?
Delusion is one hell of a drug.
He did get rebuked from the judge for that. It seems like he didn't really take anything seriously. So how does that play into the
what's interesting, Don? I'm actually not surprised, but it's interesting that they could even get him to enter what's called a knowing and voluntary plea. The guy has to know the charges, understand the charges against him, and know that he's pleading guilty, and so on. I don't think this guy's all together. And, at times, if a defendant can't understand, in effect, the words that are being said to him or what he's agreeing to, you can't actually get him to plead guilty. Now, look, here, he's smart enough or savvy enough to be giving interviews to 60 Minutes and so on. But this is clearly not a well individual. Now, I'm not intending in any way to justify this conduct. This is reprehensible conduct. But this is, we can chuckle about it here, but this is somebody who's just not all together.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to do the psychoanalysis here, but I understand the thrust of what you're saying. Listen, I want to ask you about Steve Bannon pleading not guilty to contempt of Congress charges. This comes ahead of Bannon's hearing tomorrow before a judge. He's doing his best to make, to really drag this on, make it last as long as possible, no?
No, no, absolutely. Now, what he's done tomorrow is waive a formal arraignment. He's not going to come in and sort of hear all the charges that have been brought against him. Now, look, it's still an opportunity to make a circus. There's going to be a hearing. I would think we would hear from Steve Bannon tomorrow. But this is, you heard his own words about how this is the misdemeanor from hell, and we're going to dig in, and we're going to make a fight. This is a PR opportunity for him far more than anything else.
Elliot Williams, or where I'm from, Louisiana, they say Elliot Williams. Good to see you, sir.